Sometimes, the most unexpected encounters happen on ordinary roads. A young man stopped his car to offer a ride to a woman walking alone, unaware that her whispered secret would unravel years of hidden truths, danger, and love. What began as an act of kindness turned into a journey that neither of them could have imagined, one that would test their courage, their hearts, and their very lives. It was late evening, and the orange glow of the sunset painted the highway in hues of fire and gold. Jason Reed drove his old silver Ford along the quiet stretch of road just outside of Austin, Texas. He was heading home after a long day at work, thinking only of a quick dinner and some much-needed rest. The road was almost empty when he noticed a lone figure walking along the shoulder. At first, he thought nothing of it, just another traveler perhaps, but as he drew closer, he realized it was a woman. She looked tired, her shoulders slumped under the weight of a small backpack. Her clothes were dusty, and her steps seemed heavy, as though each one took more strength than she had left. Jason slowed down instinctively. Something about her seemed out of place. It wasn't safe for anyone, let alone a young woman, to be walking alone on this isolated road at this hour. Against the little voice of caution whispering in his mind, Jason rolled down his window and called out, "Hey, you need a ride." The woman stopped walking. For a moment she seemed hesitant, frozen, like a deer caught in headlights. Her eyes flicked toward him, large, weary eyes, filled with both fear and hope. Slowly, she nodded. Jason pulled over and unlocked the passenger door. She climbed in, clutching her backpack tightly against her chest. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice hoarse as though she hadn't spoken in hours. Jason offered a small smile. "No problem. Where you headed?" She hesitated again, staring at her hands. "Anywhere but here," she finally said. Jason chuckled lightly, trying to ease the tension. "Well, I'm headed to town. I can drop you somewhere safe." She gave a faint nod, but her silence afterward unsettled him. The road stretched ahead, quiet except for the hum of the engine. After a few miles, Jason tried again. "Name's Jason, by the way." The woman's lips parted slightly. "Clara," she said softly. "Nice to meet you, Clara. You from around here?" She shook her head, eyes fixed on the road as though afraid to look anywhere else. Jason didn't press. Something about her fragile demeanor told him she had been through something she wasn't ready to talk about. But then, just as he thought she might remain silent the whole ride, Clara leaned closer, her voice barely audible. "I shouldn't be here. If they find me, I'm dead." Jason's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He glanced at her quickly, heart thudding. "Who's after you?" She lowered her head, her eyes shimmering with tears. "Please, just keep driving." And in that instant, Jason realized this wasn't just about giving someone a ride. He had unknowingly stepped into something much deeper, something dangerous. The air inside the car shifted, heavy with unspoken fear. And Jason, despite every warning bell ringing in his mind, couldn't bring himself to ask her to get out. The silence between them grew heavier with each passing mile, and Jason's curiosity battled with caution. He wanted to know what Clara meant, who she was running from, and why fear seemed to cling to her like a shadow. But he also knew pressing her might make her shut down completely. Finally, he tried a gentler approach. "Listen, Clara, I don't know what's going on, but if you're in trouble, maybe I can help. At least tell me what I'm dealing with here." Clara's grip on her backpack tightened until her knuckles turned white. Her lips trembled. And after a long pause, she whispered, "I saw something I wasn't supposed to." Jason frowned. "What do you mean?" Clara turned her face toward the window, as though afraid the night air outside might be listening. "Back in Dallas, I worked at this diner. Late nights, sometimes till closing. Last week, some men came in. I thought they were just customers at first. But then, in the back alley after we closed, I saw them with another man. They killed him. Right there." Her voice cracked on the last words. Jason's chest tightened. This wasn't what he expected. "You saw a murder." She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks now. "They saw me too. One of them chased me, but I got away. I ran. I've been running ever since." Jason exhaled slowly, his mind racing. "Have you gone to the police?" Clara shook her head violently. "I can't. They'll find me there. They said if I talked to anyone, I'd be next. And, one of them, I think he's connected." He knew the cops by name. Jason cursed under his breath. He was just an ordinary guy, not someone who dealt with crime or danger. And yet here he was, with a terrified witness in his passenger seat. Clara wiped her face, her voice trembling. I didn't know where else to go. I just kept moving, hoping I'd disappear. Jason slowed as they approached a small gas station. He parked and turned to her. Clara, you can't run forever. If they're really after you, you need protection. Maybe I can help you find someone you can trust. Clara shook her head. No one can know. Not yet. Please, just, don't leave me alone. Her plea pierced him deeper than he expected. Against all logic, Jason nodded. All right, you're safe with me, at least for tonight. Her eyes softened, filled with gratitude and something unspoken. For the first time since she entered his car, she allowed herself a faint, fragile smile. But Jason knew, her secret had changed everything. What was once just a simple ride home had now turned into a path of danger, one that he couldn't walk away from, not without betraying the desperate trust in her eyes. That night, Jason brought Clara to his small apartment on the outskirts of town. He offered her food, a shower, and a blanket. She ate silently, her eyes always darting toward the window, as though expecting someone to break through at any moment. Jason barely slept, his mind on edge. By morning, he had decided to reach out to his friend Mark, a former detective who now worked privately. If anyone could give advice, it was him. But before Jason could make the call, a black SUV pulled up outside his building. Clara spotted it first, her face draining of color. It's them, she whispered in terror. Jason's pulse spiked. Are you sure? Clara nodded rapidly, trembling. I recognize that car. They followed me before. Jason grabbed his keys. Come on, we're leaving. They rushed out the back door, hurrying to his car. The SUV doors opened, and two men in dark suits stepped out, scanning the area. Jason started the engine and peeled out of the lot, tires screeching. Clara clutched her backpack, shaking. They found me. Oh God, they found me. Jason glanced in the rearview mirror, the SUV had noticed them and was now following. Adrenaline surged through his veins as he sped onto the highway. Hang on, he muttered. The chase stretched on for miles. Jason swerved through traffic, trying to lose the black SUV. Clara cried softly beside him, whispering prayers. Finally, Jason spotted an exit leading to an old country road. He took it sharply, the SUV momentarily overshooting. He drove fast, weaving through backroads until the SUV disappeared from view. When he finally pulled over near an abandoned barn, Jason exhaled heavily, his hands trembling on the wheel. Clara buried her face in her hands. Sobbing, I've ruined your life. I never should have gotten in your car. Jason turned to her, his voice steady. Hey, don't say that. You didn't ruin anything. You needed help. And I'm not about to let them hurt you. Clara looked up at him, eyes glistening with gratitude. Why are you doing this for me? Jason hesitated. He didn't fully know himself. Maybe it was her vulnerability, maybe the injustice of her situation, or maybe something deeper he couldn't explain. Because it's the right thing to do, he finally said. And in that moment, Jason knew he was in this fight with her, for better or worse. For the next few days, Jason and Clara stayed hidden, moving from place to place, trying to stay one step ahead of the men hunting her. Jason eventually managed to contact Mark discreetly, explaining just enough to get his help. Mark promised to dig into the case. A week later, Mark met them in a safe house outside the city. His expression was grim. Jason, Clara, you weren't wrong. The men after you. They're part of a major crime syndicate involved in drug trafficking and money laundering. And you, Clara, you're the only living witness to one of their murders. Clara paled, her body trembling. So it's true. They'll never stop. Mark shook his head. Not unless we bring them down. But we'll need your testimony. With the evidence I've gathered, your account could be enough to put them away. Jason looked at Clara. She was terrified, but there was also a new fire in her eyes. For so long, she had been running, hiding, living in fear. But now, with Jason beside her, she felt something different, strength. She swallowed hard. If it means no one else has to go through what I did, I'll do it. I'll testify. Mark nodded firmly. The following weeks were a blur. With federal protection, Clara gave her testimony. The syndicate leaders were arrested in a massive raid. It was dangerous, and there were close calls, but in the end, justice prevailed. Months later, as the trial concluded and the criminals were sentenced, Clara stood outside the courthouse with Jason. She turned to him, tears in her eyes, not of fear this time, but relief. "I never thought I'd make it this far. If it weren't for you," Jason smiled softly. "You don't have to thank me. You're the one who was brave enough to face them." Clara reached out, taking his hand. "No, I was only brave because you believed in me." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, everything they had endured, the fear, the danger, the nights of hiding, faded into the background. What remained was something stronger, something unspoken but undeniable. It all started with a ride. A simple offer on a lonely road. And a whispered secret that changed everything.